Hi guys, how are you today? After a hard-working day, let's relax with this journey through history. If you're as excited as we are to dive into this captivating journey, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on more adventures into the past. Let's uncover the mysteries of the Middle Ages together. Hit that bell icon too, so you're always first in line for the next historical adventure. Throughout the course of history, beauty has often been regarded as a symbol, something that transcends mere appearance. In the time of the Gilded Age, an era of change and growth, beauty held significance, not only as a reflection of personal care, but as a silent marker of wealth and power. The women of that age, adorned in delicate gowns and intricate jewelry, sought not only to look beautiful, but to embody an ideal that spoke to their place in society. As we look back at this period, we are drawn to the practices and rituals that were once considered the epitome of refinement. Yet as we reflect upon them from the perspective of today, questions quietly arise. The Gilded Age may seem distant, but it is marked by certain rituals, simple, almost mundane in nature, yet powerful in their symbolism. Among these rituals was a ritual of beauty, quiet in its execution, yet resonant with the values of the time. Women used products and methods that would now seem foreign, strange even. Mercury creams, designed to lighten the skin, were once seen as an essential part of achieving that elusive, fair complexion. Yet beyond their initial promise, these practices carry a weight that we can only begin to understand today. In the midst of these methods, it is difficult to ignore the silent reverberations of history. The practices that women of the Gilded Age engaged in were not merely for personal enhancement, they were a way of aligning oneself with an ideal. But looking back, we notice the shadow of harmful consequences, not immediately apparent to those who lived through them. These rituals, so carefully followed, now prompt a soft reflection. As we reflect on the past, we cannot help but consider the beauty practices we hold today. The methods of the Gilded Age, though distant, linger in subtle forms. While we may no longer use mercury creams or rely on corsets to shape our bodies, many of us still seek ways to enhance our appearance, to alter it in ways that align with ideals that have been passed down through generations. Modern beauty rituals, too, speak to this deep-rooted desire for transformation. Whitening creams, cosmetic surgeries, and anti-aging treatments now dominate the beauty landscape, continuing a long tradition of striving for a perfected version of ourselves. Yet, as we look back at the Gilded Age, it is interesting to wonder, do these modern practices still reflect the same ideal, the same desire for something more than just appearance? As we pause here, we allow these thoughts to rest gently in our minds. The methods of the past, though no longer practiced in the same ways, leave us with questions. What has changed and what remains? Do we truly understand the consequences of our choices, both those made by women of the Gilded Age and those we make today? In quiet moments of reflection, we are reminded that beauty, in all its forms, is not only a measure of appearance, but also of the choices and the values we continue to carry forward. This is the beginning of our gentle exploration. As we look at the practices that shaped beauty in both past and present, we hold space for a soft curiosity, one that allows us to observe without judgment, but with the hope of understanding more deeply. Sure, I'll expand the script and provide additional reflections to meet the target of 3,000 words. Here's the extended version of Part 2, introducing Gilded Age beauty rituals, maintaining the gentle, meditative tone throughout. Introducing Gilded Age beauty rituals. The quiet elegance of the Gilded Age. The Gilded Age was a time of great change and immense wealth. It was an era of industrial growth, the rise of a new class of wealthy individuals, and profound cultural shifts. Yet, amidst the bustling advancements of technology and progress, beauty rituals remained a quiet constant, a practice often hidden in the shadows, yet pivotal in the lives of those who sought to embody a certain image. For the women of the Gilded Age, beauty was not just a personal matter, it was intricately tied to their place in society. At this time, beauty practices became more refined, and women began to focus intensely on creating the perfect appearance. With the rise of social gatherings, galas, and public appearances, the pressure to maintain a flawless appearance grew. Wealth and status, which were now more visible than ever, found their reflection in the way women presented themselves to the world. Thus, beauty was no longer just about personal satisfaction. It became a way to silently affirm one's social standing. A woman's appearance, much like her wealth, was something she displayed for public consumption. Yet, for all the attention to detail and the wealth involved in these rituals, beauty in the Gilded Age was shrouded in secrecy. These methods were passed down through social circles, discussed in whispers, and followed with devotion. However, few stopped to reflect on their true cost. They were rituals that promised perfection, but often at a hidden price, a price that would only be understood much later. The mercury-faced beauty ritual, one of the most pervasive and dangerous beauty rituals of the time, was the use of mercury-based skin creams. Women, particularly from the upper classes, often used these creams to achieve a lighter, fairer complexion. At the time, pale skin was considered the pinnacle of beauty, a sign of both wealth and leisure, as it symbolized a life spent indoors, away from the harshness of manual labor. The mercury-based creams were marketed as quick solutions for achieving this idealized beauty. These creams, often mixed with other substances like chalk or talc, were applied daily, sometimes even multiple times a day, to whiten the skin. The effects of these creams were initially praised as immediate and dramatic. A woman could achieve the desired pale skin in a short time, but this came at a hidden cost. Mercury, as many today understand, is highly toxic. The long-term use of these creams, which were often poorly regulated, led to poisoning over time. Mercury could accumulate in the body, damaging internal organs, causing memory loss, and affecting the nervous system. Yet, during the Gilded Age, this danger was not fully understood. In fact, the creams were considered a luxury, a tool for social ascension, and an essential part of personal upkeep. Women of this time would apply these products in ritualistic devotion, believing that they were following the key to beauty and refinement. It was a daily ritual, a quiet act performed at home, often in private, where the woman would carefully smear the cream onto her face, her hands, and her neck, as if by doing so, she would draw closer to the beauty ideal that society demanded of her. Several historical figures, most notably Elizabeth Gardner, a famous beauty icon of the era, were said to have suffered ill health due to exposure to mercury-based products. Gardner, who was known for her beauty, reportedly applied the skin-whitening cream daily, believing it was essential to maintain her flawless complexion. She suffered from long-term health problems, and some biographers have even suggested that her early death may have been linked to the prolonged use of mercury. Her story is not unique. Countless women in the Gilded Age, from the most opulent elites to women of the upper middle classes, used these creams, unaware of the cumulative damage they were doing to their bodies. The dangers of mercury, unfortunately, were not immediately understood. The pursuit of beauty came at a silent cost, as these women, eager to maintain their youthful appearance, unknowingly paid the price for their beauty with their health. As we look back, we must reflect on the inherent risks of these practices. These rituals, so carefully crafted and widely accepted, were ultimately built on a foundation of ignorance. The women of the time could not have known that their pursuit of beauty was, in fact, leading them to a slow and insidious harm. But despite the risks, these practices were widely endorsed because beauty, to many, was always worth the sacrifice. The tight-laced corset. In addition to these dangerous creams, another essential aspect of Gilded Age beauty was the corset. Unlike the beauty rituals we might think of today, the corset was not just an accessory, it was a tool for shaping the body. Women in the Gilded Age wore corsets tightly laced around their waists, squeezing their bodies into a shape that was viewed as the epitome of feminine grace. The ideal silhouette during this time was a small waist paired with curved hips, an hourglass shape that would become synonymous with female beauty. The corset became an inextricable part of daily life. Women were expected to wear them throughout the day, adjusting the laces tighter and tighter to shape their figures. The process was an act of willpower and discipline, as women often spent hours wearing these constricting garments, never questioning their impact. For some, the act of wearing a corset became a silent sacrifice, a form of self-discipline that was required to maintain one's social standing. The tighter the corset, the more a woman was able to embody the ideal of elegance and refinement. Yet this beauty came with its own set of dangers. Wearing corsets for prolonged periods of time restricted the body's natural movements, limited breathing, and even caused digestive problems. Internal organs were often pushed out of place, and spinal misalignment was a common consequence. These consequences were not always understood by the women who wore them. The discomfort of corsets became normalized, and the long-term effects on health were largely ignored. One prominent historical figure who suffered greatly from the use of corsets was Edith Wharton, the famous novelist and socialite of the era. Warton, whose writing frequently touched upon the rigid social norms of her time, was known for her own struggles with the tight corsets of the Gilded Age. In her later years, Warton suffered from respiratory problems and severe back pain, both of which were attributed to the prolonged use of corsets. Warton, along with many other women of the time, endured these discomforts because the corset was seen as essential for maintaining one's elegance and social position. The tight lacing, although uncomfortable and dangerous, was endured in silence by countless women, each of them striving to fit into a prescribed ideal of beauty. Despite their discomfort and the hidden risks, corsets were worn in the name of beauty. The women who adhered to this ritual accepted the pain and sacrifice as part of their role in a society that valued appearance above all else. As the years passed, the corset became not just a fashion statement, but a social expectation. To not wear a corset was to risk being seen as lacking in refinement. The harshness of skincare rituals. Turning back to beauty, the methods women used to maintain their skin were equally as dangerous. For many, cleaning and refreshing the face involved the use of harsh chemicals. One of the most commonly used products was lye soap, a caustic substance that was believed to cleanse the skin thoroughly. Lye soap was used to remove impurities from the skin, leaving it feeling smooth and fresh. However, lye is a highly alkaline chemical that, if applied incorrectly, could result in chemical burns and severe skin irritation. Women would apply this harsh soap with the belief that it was part of their daily beauty regimen, unknowingly exposing their skin to serious harm. Yet, despite the risks, lye soap was widely accepted simply because it was a routine, a method of cleansing and perfecting the skin that was embraced by many. This practice continued for years, even though modern science now tells us of the dangers inherent in such substances. At the time, beauty was not just about personal satisfaction, it was a ritual passed down, a tradition that shaped how women viewed their role in society. One well-known case of chemical burns from these beauty treatments occurred to Clara Morris, a well-known actress of the era. Morris, famous for her stage performances, applied lye soap to her face, hoping to achieve smooth, flawless skin. Unfortunately, she suffered severe chemical burns, and her once beautiful complexion was forever scarred. Her experience became a warning for others, though the practice continued for years as people remained unaware of the true dangers. The use of these chemicals was often based on limited scientific knowledge. For many women, the skincare rituals that were supposed to enhance their beauty only led to lasting damage, leaving scars, both physical and emotional, that remained with them for years. These methods were considered normal and even necessary for achieving beauty, yet their consequences were often not realized until it was too late. As with the mercury creams and the corsets, the use of lye soap became deeply ingrained in the lives of women. Beauty, as defined during this time, was something to be attained at any cost, often at the expense of comfort, health, and well-being. The rituals were viewed as the means by which women could transcend their ordinary selves and embody the ideal of perfection. The influence of the past. As we move away from these beauty rituals, there is much to consider. The practices of the Gilded Age were, in their own way, representative of their time. They reflected not only the aesthetic ideals, but also the social pressures that shaped women's lives during that era. These rituals, while seemingly mundane, were in fact crucial to the way women engaged with the world, from how they saw themselves to how they were seen by others. The beauty practices of the Gilded Age were built on a foundation of societal expectation, shaped by ideals that were unquestioned and accepted as part of daily life. But as we reflect on them from a modern perspective, we recognize the hidden costs that came with these methods, the health risks, the discomfort, and the long-lasting consequences of these beauty rituals. Today, when we think of beauty, we may still find ourselves using products and techniques that promise results similar to those of the past. While the methods have evolved, the underlying desires remain unchanged. Women still seek to alter their appearances, to adhere to societal ideals of beauty, and to seek the perfection that eludes them. As we look back at these practices, we are reminded of how the past shapes the present. The rituals of the Gilded Age, though outdated in their form, continue to influence the choices we make today. And perhaps, in the quiet moments of reflection, we can begin to understand the delicate balance between beauty and harm, between the ideal and the reality of the methods we choose to shape ourselves. Comparing with modern beauty methods. A quiet shift from past to present. As we gently look towards the present, we notice how beauty rituals have evolved. The practices of the Gilded Age, though far removed from our modern sensibilities, continue to cast a subtle influence on our own methods of beauty and self-care. While we no longer apply mercury creams or wear tight-laced corsets, the desire for a flawless appearance, that quiet longing to transform ourselves into something closer to an ideal, remains unchanged. Beauty today is still governed by ideals passed down from earlier centuries, like the ones that permeated the Gilded Age. But now, instead of relying on dangerous chemicals or constricting garments, we turn to more scientifically advanced products and treatments. Yet as we compare the old methods with the new, we must ask ourselves, have we truly moved forward, or do we continue to repeat the same patterns of striving for perfection? Patterns that are, at their core, no different from those of the past. In this gentle reflection, we begin to see that the modern world, though vastly different in many ways, still carries echoes of those earlier beauty ideals. The rituals may have changed in form, but the quiet pursuit of beauty remains a constant thread woven through time. Skin lightening and whitening practices. One of the most apparent continuities between the past and present is the enduring use of skin whitening products. During the Gilded Age, women applied mercury-based creams in an attempt to achieve a pale, flawless complexion. The belief that fair skin represented wealth, leisure, and aristocracy made this a ritual of great importance. Today, whitening creams remain a staple in many beauty routines, though the ingredients have changed significantly. Hydroquinone, retinoids, and even vitamin C are commonly found in modern whitening products, replacing the toxic mercury of the past. Despite these advancements, skin lightening products remain controversial in the present day, particularly due to the harmful long-term effects that can arise from their use. Like mercury creams, these modern products promise to lighten skin and erase imperfections, but they may also carry unintended consequences. Skin thinning, increased sensitivity, and discoloration are just a few of the risks associated with these modern treatments. Looking back, we see that the Gilded Age's use of mercury was a quiet act of trust in the idea of beauty, trusting that a product would transform one's skin to conform to societal standards. Today, as we use advanced formulas, we still trust in their promise to redefine our appearance. While we may use scientifically validated products, the underlying desire, the silent pursuit of an ideal beauty, remains unchanged. The evolving corset and modern body shaping. The corset, as we have seen, was a prominent feature of the Gilded Age beauty ritual. It was a tool used to achieve the ideal hourglass figure, a shape that signified refinement and status. Women of the era would tightly lace themselves into corsets, accepting discomfort and restriction as part of their daily routine. This practice, while once unquestioned, had consequences, including restricted breathing, spinal misalignment, and digestive issues. Today, the tight-lacing corset has largely faded into history, replaced by more comfortable body-shaping garments like cinches and shapewear. These modern tools, unlike their predecessors, are designed to enhance rather than physically restrict the body. They use elastic materials that offer compression without the harsh effects of the corset. Yet, the principle behind them is similar: to shape the body into a desired form. However, despite being gentler on the body, modern shapewear still carries its own set of concerns. Prolonged use can lead to discomfort, restricted movement, and in some cases, skin irritation. The desire for a sculpted body has not disappeared, but has merely taken on a new form. Just as women of the past tightened their corsets to fit the ideal, modern women now use shapewear to achieve the same goal: to craft a figure that is both pleasing to the eye and acceptable within society's standards. As we reflect on the journey from the Gilded Age to the present, we realize that while the methods have evolved, the underlying goal, the quest for a societal ideal of beauty, persists quietly, guiding our choices. The skincare revolution, modern solutions for ancient desires. In the Gilded Age, harsh chemicals like lye soap were used to cleanse and refresh the skin. The belief was that exfoliation was key to achieving clear, smooth skin. Yet the use of such powerful chemicals carried with it significant risks: burns, irritation, and long-term skin damage. Today, we have an abundance of skincare products that promise hydration, exfoliation, and nourishment. Modern treatments such as alpha-hydroxy acids, AHAs, and beta-hydroxy acids, BHAs, are designed to exfoliate the skin gently. These scientifically developed products promise to give us smooth, youthful skin without the harsh effects of earlier treatments. Yet, while modern products are often safer than their predecessors, they are not without their own risks. Overexfoliation, dryness, and skin sensitivity are common side effects when these products are used incorrectly. It seems that the desire for a flawless complexion, a clear, smooth, and youthful appearance, remains a constant throughout time, even though the methods have improved. In both the Gilded Age and today, the pursuit of perfect skin has shaped countless beauty routines. The rituals may have become gentler and more informed, but they are still driven by the same quiet desire for perfection. As we apply modern exfoliators, we can still trace their origins back to the harsh soaps of the past. The desire to transform our skin and improve our appearance has never truly changed. A quiet reflection on the continuities and changes. When we compare the beauty methods of the Gilded Age with those of today, we see that many of the rituals have evolved, but the underlying desires remain remarkably the same. Whether it is the use of skin-whitening creams, the desire to shape the body, or the pursuit of perfect skin, these goals have endured across the centuries. While we have moved beyond the dangerous practices of mercury creams, tight-lacing corsets, and lye soap, we must pause to reflect on what we have gained and what we have lost. Have we truly advanced in our pursuit of beauty, or are we merely using different tools to achieve the same end? Modern beauty rituals are safer, more scientifically based, and often kinder to the body. Yet we still find ourselves striving to meet an ideal that has been passed down through generations. An ideal that may not be rooted in our own needs or well-being, but in the expectations of society. As we reflect on this journey, we are reminded of the soft continuity between the past and present. The beauty rituals we follow today are the result of a long history of striving for perfection, often at the cost of comfort and health. And as we continue to evolve, perhaps the most important thing we can do is to remember the lessons of the past, to be mindful of the choices we make, and to question whether they serve us or simply serve an ideal. Exploring the connection between past and present, the silent thread of tradition. As we pause and reflect upon the beauty rituals of the past, it becomes evident that the practices of the Gilded Age, though distant, are not as removed from our own as we might have imagined. While we no longer use mercury creams or endure the discomfort of tight-lacing corsets, there remains an undeniable thread that connects these methods with those we use today. This thread is subtle, almost imperceptible at times, but it exists in the desires that underpin these rituals. Both in the Gilded Age and in modern times, there is a shared yearning for transformation, a desire to mold ourselves into something that aligns with an ideal. Women of the past sought perfection in their appearance to signal their place in society, just as we, today, often find ourselves turning to products, treatments, and rituals in an effort to achieve the same. What we notice, perhaps most quietly, is that the tools and methods may have changed, but the core motivation remains consistent. The ideal of beauty, as set by the prevailing cultural standards of the time, continues to guide us, sometimes gently, sometimes with more urgency, toward the same goal, to appear flawless, to embody the best version of ourselves. The continuing desire for perfection. The concept of flawless beauty, so important to the women of the Gilded Age, still resonates in modern beauty practices. It is the same search for perfection that led women in the past to apply dangerous chemicals to their skin or wear garments that restricted their breath and movement. Today, we may turn to more refined and scientifically grounded methods, but the underlying impulse to enhance and improve our appearance remains largely unchanged. It is easy to see the continuity of this desire when we examine the modern practices of skin whitening, anti-aging treatments, and body shaping. Just as mercury-based creams were once used to lighten the skin, modern creams, lotions, and even surgeries continue to promise the same end result, a more youthful or radiant appearance. While the ingredients and techniques have evolved, the end goal is still the same, to reshape the self in accordance with the ideal of beauty that society upholds. As we reflect on this connection, we may notice that the pursuit of beauty, though sometimes framed as a modern obsession, is, in fact, deeply rooted in history. The desire to look youthful, to achieve a slim or sculpted figure, is not a new phenomenon, but rather a continuation of practices that have been carried forward through the generations. The modern beauty industry, while more scientific and regulated, still draws heavily from the ideals set in previous eras. The tools of beauty across time. One of the most striking aspects of the connection between the past and present is the way we use tools to shape our appearance. The Gilded Age. Women used harsh substances like mercury, arsenic, and lye to perfect their skin, as well as restrictive corsets to sculpt their bodies. These tools, though dangerous, were part of an intricate system of beauty rituals that women adhered to in order to fit into the ideals of their time. In the modern era, the tools may have changed, but we still use beauty tools in the same way. Makeup, skincare treatments, plastic surgery, and body shapers have replaced the older, more dangerous methods. Yet the purpose behind these tools remains remarkably similar. They are designed to reshape the self, to enhance certain features, and to eliminate others, all in the pursuit of conforming to an idealized version of beauty. The advances we have made in beauty technology are not simply technological in nature, but also reflective of an ongoing cultural obsession with perfection. Just as the women of the Gilded Age relied on mercury creams and tight-laced corsets, we too rely on modern methods, such as Botox, fillers, and facial surgeries, to achieve the same goal: beauty as a symbol of status. In both eras, there is an underlying desire to transform oneself in a way that society views as acceptable or admirable. The methods may vary, but the desire to look a certain way, to fit in with society's evolving beauty standards, remains a constant. The quiet reflection on beauty's evolution. When we step back and examine the beauty rituals of both the Gilded Age and today, we are invited to consider the long-standing relationship between beauty and identity. The historical beauty rituals, with all their associated dangers, were not simply a reflection of the time, but also a reflection of society's values. Women were expected to adhere to these practices to align with the ideals of femininity and social status, just as women today are expected to conform to modern beauty standards. However, we are now at a moment where the definition of beauty is shifting. There is a growing recognition that beauty is not a one-size-fits-all concept. This recognition, however gentle, offers a contrast to the rigid ideals that have dominated beauty standards for centuries. While there is still pressure to conform, there is a softening, a recognition that perhaps beauty is less about perfection and more about individual expression. As we reflect on these changing ideals, we begin to see how our understanding of beauty has evolved. The silent thread that connects past and present is still there, but now there is an opportunity to redefine what it means to be beautiful. Beauty, it seems, is no longer something that is imposed externally. Rather, it is something that we reclaim and define for ourselves. It is not simply about looking a certain way, but about feeling a certain way. Quietly unraveling the perfection of beauty. In this quiet reflection, we notice that the ideals of beauty, though constantly evolving, continue to affect us deeply. But with this realization comes the question: how much of our pursuit of beauty is truly for ourselves, and how much of it is driven by the expectations and pressures of the world around us? As we trace the lineage of beauty practices, from mercury creams to modern facelifts, we are reminded that beauty rituals, while they change, are always rooted in social structures and cultural demands. The aha moment lies not only in recognizing these connections, but also in understanding the enduring nature of these desires. While the tools and techniques change, the motivation to fit into an ideal continues to shape our perceptions of self. And as we look to the future, perhaps the most important thing we can do is to question the ideals we pursue. The pursuit of beauty, while deeply ingrained in human history, should not come at the cost of well-being or authenticity. Instead, beauty can be a gentle process, one that allows us to embrace our own reflection, not in comparison to others, but in acceptance of who we are. The gentle continuity. In this quiet reflection, we can see that the pursuit of beauty is a gentle and enduring thread that connects us with the women of the Gilded Age and with the generations before them. Beauty rituals, whether in the past or present, are shaped by the same desire for acceptance and perfection. Yet, as we look inward, we are invited to softly redefine what beauty truly means. The rituals may continue, but it is in the quiet acceptance of our own uniqueness that we can find true beauty. The quiet end of a journey. As we come to the end of our exploration, it is time for a gentle pause. Throughout our journey, we have seen the beauty rituals of the Gilded Age and their enduring influence on modern beauty practices. These rituals, though often dangerous in their time, were driven by a quiet desire to fit into an ideal, to reflect a society's vision of perfection. The tools and methods may have changed, but the core impulse, the longing to achieve a certain form of beauty, remains. The continuity of desire. Beauty, we see, is not merely an external pursuit, it is a quiet, reflective practice shaped by both internal desires and the pressures of society. From the mercury creams of the past to the modern-day skincare routines, the longing for something more than what we naturally possess continues. The materials may differ, but the core idea, to reshape ourselves to fit an ideal, persists through the ages. This silent continuity speaks to a timeless human trait, our need to conform to standards of beauty, whether set by society or by our own internal visions of what is acceptable or desirable. A quiet invitation to reflect. In this moment of reflection, we might ask ourselves, what can we learn from these practices, past and present? How do we reconcile our inner desires with the expectations imposed upon us? Perhaps the most valuable lesson is this: beauty is not something to be sought only in perfection. It is found in acceptance, in quiet self-reflection, and in the recognition that beauty is not merely a product to be achieved, but a state of being. As we look to the future, we are gently invited to redefine beauty on our own terms, free from the constraints of past practices. There is peace in knowing that we are enough as we are, and in this quiet acceptance, beauty finds its truest form. Thank you for joining us. Rest well, take care of your beautiful self, whatever that means to you, and until next time, good night.